you adding homing moves that kill lateral movement and also adding guns to the game is basically a basic recipe to kill Tekken as a franchise for good. For the longest time, at least for the past year or so, I've been meaning to make a video on how to fix Tekken. Unfortunately, I'm now having to create a video on how Tekken is probably, Tekken 8 specifically, completely dead. And it was doomed from the very beginning. And so today I want to basically make that case. Now, we all know how the latest patch note had the word easier about 50 times or so, right? You've probably heard that. Maybe you've watched a Moonsault Slayer video or a VDX video, and you saw that. So that's been the direction since day one for Tekken 8. Now, the reason Tekken 8 is doomed to fail from the very beginning, and I honestly saw that by simply watching the designs and how they mechanically, not just visually, they mechanically designed some of the new characters, and all of the new moves were designed around making things easier and not Tekken. Now, if you've seen that VDX video with him reading this article, there's a very interesting part that I think really highlights this. And it's this part right here, and I'm going to kind of read it to you, and it will make sense why Tekken 8 was doomed to fail from the very beginning once I read this part. Okay, so it goes, this is critical to understand. He was talking about martial arts movies just now. And he's saying this is critical to understand. It's what separates the genre from your typical man with gun action game. He's talking about, again, the martial arts movies. In a man with a gun story, the hero's power comes from his weapon. It's outside of the self. But Ryu has fireballs, that's like a gun, right? No, Ryu's fireballs might have the same function as a gun, being a projectile weapon, albeit slower moving, but the source of this power, the thing that made that fireball exist, is within Ryu himself. It was not some tool he had on his belt. Standard issue to every Marine in his platoon. It's a mystical martial art technique he spent years mastering. In a martial arts narrative, the source of the character's power must come from within. Following from this, the source of the player's power must also be embodied. It too must come from within, because the player is the character. If you remove this association, the game's ethos reverts to that of a man with a gun narrative. It is a fundamentally different genre. This is so profound, by the way, on so many levels, especially when it comes to Tekken 8, because the design itself, you'll notice that what they did with Tekken 8's roster is essentially men with guns. They created Victor. Victor is designed around his gun. Gave Nina a couple of pistols. Anna now has a bazooka and can shoot you. And Victor can, of course, shoot you from across the screen by just pulling out his gun and shooting at you. And it was obvious from the direction of Tekken 7 that this is the design philosophy. This is this new kind of projectile, man with gun, Soul Calibur philosophy. Half of the roster, if not all of the roster, most of the roster now has homing moves that are easy to execute, that force a mix-up, meaning you have to guess. It's a 50-50. All of the characters, as far as I can tell, they operate this way. They have a homing move that is plus on block and gives them plus frames into a mix-up. And not to mention Clive. I can't forget Clive. Clive is essentially the worst defender here, with all kinds of very flashy moves and just too much clutter on the screen. He's just an eyesore to watch, really. And maybe he's not in Soul Calibur, but he definitely does not belong in Tekken. So Again, the game was doomed from the very beginning, and I knew that the moment I saw the Victor trailer. And that was before the game even came out. Because if you really think about it, having a gun, just having the audacity to present a new character that carries a gun that can shoot you from afar with disappearing super ninja samurai skills where he can just disappear off the ground like Raven. So he's basically a ninja, a samurai, an assassin. He also has a gun and cyber powers inside his, not cyber powers, but some kind of power that allows him to, glitch through the screen like that or whatever. That whole design philosophy where we're going to give you guns, we're going to give you easy buttons, 2 with Noctis. You can notice that there are some moves that are similar, especially his, strings and 2 and strings into another string, and it's just not what Tekken is. And again, it wasn't entirely obvious in the Tekken 7 days, but having Noctis was actually a big worry for me personally when I saw Noctis, and the fact that they're willing to design a character like that or bring a character from Final Fantasy. You can summon all kinds of weapons, and then they double down on that with Clive's design. And that's a terrible design if you ask me. That does not belong in Tekken. Maybe it belongs in Soul Calibur. In this tweet from Harada from May 2025, about a year ago, I believe this was after Season 2 came out, there was a whole backlash over that. It confirms that, yeah, they most likely had Soul Calibur members onto the team after Soul Calibur died, Soul Calibur 6. And so Bandai Namco has all these employees and they're not doing anything, so they might as well work on the game that is more successful, which is Tekken. And now that they've worked on it and they've made all these scrubby changes to the game, it basically killed the whole game. In my opinion, I think they're using the player base as QA testers. If you ask me, like, what's going on? Like, what is the issue here? That's what I would say. If you look at the Season 3 patch, the way they started by giving Alyssa more tools to more easily apply her chainsaw pressure, it's really ridiculous. The fact that they said we're going back to basics, and then the first thing that you read off the patch notes is making offense easier, it's insane. And the reason I say that they're using the player base as QA testers and they're really being stingy with how much they're spending on their own game, it's because they left in a lot of these basic bugs that you probably could have found if you had more than just a couple of QA testers in your studio, such as the infinite Fengwei Heat Smash, and also the fact that Heihachi can spam up back 1+2 and he can always get that perfect version. And never mind the fact that they added all these very lazy moves that are basically extensions of strings that are already there. It's really not looking good. So they released an emergency patch, but again, they could have avoided having to release an emergency patch if they weren't intending to use the player base as QA testers. So they're cheapening out, that's for sure. What else are they doing? Harada left, and there's a clip from Murray from Tekken 7 where he was saying, I don't know if he still believes that, but it's circulating, and he's talking about how there was too much sidestep in the game, and this was back in Tekken 7. Now clearly they've improved the sidestep in Tekken 8, but what they did is completely break it by adding all of these homing plus moves that are plus on block and puts you into stance and gives you a free mix-up where you have to guess, and it's just terrible game design. If you ask me, it's at least terrible Tekken game design, right? You don't design Tekken like that. You ruin Tekken if you do that. I think Harada left, personally speaking, because he was at odds with whoever has power there. Okay, whoever has power over Tekken 8 that's turning it into this mess, he was at odds with that person. I don't know if it could be Murray. I doubt it. Maybe it's investors, whoever it is. But I think Harada left all of a sudden, not because he suddenly just doesn't want to work anymore. He wants to retire. I think he would have loved to continue, but there were probably some people that he was at odds with, and it wasn't really working. Not to mention that, again, the fact that all of this is happening means the team doesn't really understand how to treat Tekken. They don't know how to play their own game, and it's confirmed by Murray saying there's too much sidestep. It's like saying there's too much gunfire in Call of Duty, so now we're going to add some swords to balance out the game. It doesn't make sense. It's a shooting game. You're going to have submachine guns, you're going to have this, you're going to have that. In a martial arts game where it's 3D, you adding homing moves that kill lateral movement and also adding guns to the game is basically a basic recipe to kill Tekken as a franchise for good. In my opinion, because of this philosophy, Tekken 8 was doomed to fail from the very beginning, and unfortunately, I'd love to be wrong, but I regret to say that Tekken 8 is not going to be saved. They're going to continue with this direction, and there's no stopping it. The only hope we have, potentially speaking, if they don't continue like this, is Tekken 9, where they remove everything. Because I don't think it's going to be like that other game. I think Guilty Gear, was it, where they removed like a mechanic and the community were just loving it. They removed a mechanic that the community didn't want. So Tekken can do that, but I don't think they will. I think they're too stubborn. I think they're too out of touch. I think they don't know how to play their own game. I think there are people in the team that don't have the same vision as the old team. I think part of the old team is still working, and that's why some good changes here and there with the Season 3 patch. But for the most part, I think the other part of the team that is at odds with what core Tekken is, these are the people adding guns. These are the people adding heat. These are the people adding homing moves that are plus on block. That gives you a mix-up, a free mix-up. These are the people that are creating new moves that are lazy and that are already recycled or from either previous games or strings, basically. Moves that are taken from strings. It's lazy. It's unlike Tekken. It feels like not even the same animators are working on the game at the moment. Yeah, a lot of things feel wrong with this game, and I think the team is too out of touch to fix it at this point. But that's my take. That's why I think, again, Tekken 8 was basically doomed to fail from the very start, and it's very unfortunate to say. I really do hope that I'm wrong. If you like this kind of rant or talk or whatever it is that I'm doing here, feel free to subscribe. I haven't been posting much on this channel for about 2 to 3 years, and it's unfortunate that I'm returning with such a video. And let me know if you're interested in what I mentioned in the beginning of this video, which is making that video on how to make Tekken 8 better, how to fix Tekken 8. I know there might be a few videos out there already talking about it. You can probably watch one of them and you'll get the idea. But I'm not really talking about fixing it on a technical level. You can just watch a FDX video or a Speed Kicks video or something, or a Knee or Arslan video, and he'll tell you what to do as far as balancing and make this +8 and remove this homing and remove that homing. No, we already know that. Remove heat, remove homing plus moves, remove all these new stances, and just keep things basic. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm really talking about it on the game dev, like on the dev team side of things. How to handle it, like how to handle the game and how to treat it, really. I have a few ideas, and I'm also borrowing from other games how From Software handles their PvE and PvP, but that's a story for another time. Let me know if you guys are interested in that video. Otherwise, feel free to subscribe to the channel. I am going to be creating more videos, and let me know what you think in the comments below. I'd really appreciate that. Okay, thanks guys. Take care.